war, violence, injustice. These are one of the many things that African Americans have experienced ever since they stepped foot on the 13 colonies. But then a new foe was added to the mix: police brutality. Even being freed from slavery, they were not safe from what these people could do. So then the civil rights movement started. And one thing led to another. And the Black Panther Party came to be.
The Black Panther Party started in 1966 in Oakland, California. Huey Newton and Bobby Seale were the founders of it. They were all about standing up for black people's rights and calling out the cops for being brutal and unfair. They advocated for civil rights, providing social programs, and challenging systemic oppression. However, the Black Panther Party also faced a lot of issues because the government saw them as a threat, and there were clashes with law enforcement that lead to violence and many arrests.
Huey Newton was never any good at school. Even by high school, he wasn't able to read nor write. He spent his time in the streets. Then one day, his counselor told him that he was not meant for college and would never do anything important. So, that day, he decided to prove him wrong. Newton learned to read and write and graduated high school, attending Marriott College in 1959.
Bobby Seale was raised in a broken and abusive household. He was known to stand up to bullies even if it would lead to being beaten up. Eventually, through it all, he dropped out of school and joined the Air Force. However, in a turn of events, he was discarded 3 years later for fighting. He moved back to Oakland, unable to find a job. He went back to school first to get his diploma. Then, in 1960, he enrolled at Merritt College. Swiftly after that, in 1962, he met Huey Newton, who was leading a demonstration protesting the blockade of Cuba at the time.
Although they hit it off because they shared the same ideas, they were on two paths of life. Bobby would continue to work and go to school, looking for any way to fight against the racial justice. But Newton, on the other hand, was jailed for 6 months for assault, spending a good chunk of that time in solitary confinement, losing his mind, but he gained an inner strength that was unbreakable.
On February 21st, 1965, Malcolm X was assassinated. Bobby Seale was deeply fond of Malcolm X. He saw him as his hero, and when he found out about his assassination, it absolutely shattered him. It was in that moment when he realized he must do something, because how many more people would die before the violence stopped? How many babies, children, mothers, and fathers were going to have to suffer before the fight was finally over? The violence needed to end, and it needed to end before any drastics were taken.
Around this time, Newton was released from prison, and a little bit after, he reunited with Bobby. Then together, they formed the Black Panther Party of self-defense to protect people from police brutality. But to protect the people, they were gonna need guns. The police were armed. So, they went to a man by the name of Richard, a veteran who spent part of his life inside the Japanese internment camps. He donated them a couple of guns, and within a month, Bobby and Newton had got their first 4 members. By 1967, the Panthers had rented an office on 56th and Grove Street. They were seen going out with their guns, but they had no problems with law enforcement, not any major ones, until today. As they were walking out the office with their guns, loading up inside a car, an officer stopped them before they drove off and started questioning them. Newton stepped out the car, telling the officer that he had not broken any part of the law and that he was obeying it. And only did he load his gun when he felt he needed to defend himself. That day, no shots were fired, but a war had started.
On April 1st, 1967, in Richmond, Oakland, a 22-year-old man by the name of Denzel Dowell was killed. The police claimed he was running away from a crime scene and was shot 3 times, but when the Panthers looked at the crime scene, he in fact was shot 6 times, and his wounds, he was facing his killer and had most likely been holding his hands up in the days following. Denzel's death, the Black Panthers spread awareness of what truly happened that day.
6 weeks after the Panthers provided security for Betsy Shabazz, the widow of Malcolm X. Milford, introduced Bill AB 1519 in the legislature on April 5, 1967, only 4 days after Denzel had passed. Only 6 months after the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense was formed, an armed delegation had protested the passing of the bill AB 1519. Ronald Reagan, the governor at the time, supported this bill, so the Panthers decided to head over to the Capitol, which is usually something that Newton would do. But instead, Seal would be leading the group that consisted of 24 men and 6 women, each armed with a shotgun or another firearm. But they hadn't loaded any of them when Reagan saw the grief walking to the house. He ran inside.
Reagan has been talking to a group of students, which was being covered by the press. So as Newton and his team arrived, all eyes and cameras were on them. As they walked inside, they had swiftly got lost inside, accidentally walking to the main floor chamber, an area that was off limits to the public. Many were shocked and terrified with all that was covered by the press within moments of walking inside the assembly hall. The police arrived and all weapons were seized, and they were escorted out of the building. A few minutes after leaving the Capitol, the Panthers had pulled into a gas station with television crew watching. The police then went looking for illegal weapons. They found no illegal weapons. The police still arrested more than 20 people, some of them not even being Panthers, for violation of the Fish and Game Code prohibiting carrying a loaded arm in cars. Among those arrests were Bobby Seale.
These injustices that we have named, and many more, are the true evolution of the Black Panther Party. Well, not everything they did was violent. They helped with their community, giving out breakfasts. And if your street light was down, they would make sure that they could help you in any way they possibly could. The Black Panthers changed the lives of African Americans every day as we knew it. And Martin Luther King and Malcolm X may be more noticeable, famous, and recognizable than Bobby or Newton, but the Black Panther Party was a huge semblance for civil rights and love for the community.